Okay guys, this is going to be a rant video on about General Motors and how shitty their products are. I'm just going to have a seat in my Jeep right now. Yes, I know my steering wheel's dirty. We had a 2007 Chevrolet Equinox. Bought it brand new. Had 2 miles on it, and in about 10,000 miles the engine started knocking. That was with regular oil change intervals by the dealership, because the deal that we got was 30,000 miles of free oil changes with the warranty, the one warranty that we got, or the deal that we got, not warranty, sorry. And we went, and it started burning oil at about 8,000 miles, and then it started knocking. It would burn about a quart of oil every 350 miles, every fill up. And so we took it back to the dealership, and they said, well, that's a characteristic of the engine, it's breaking in, blah blah blah. So being mechanics, both me and my dad were like, okay, well, that sounds okay, that's normal. So then at about 10,000 miles it started knocking, not a rapid knock, just a almost like a tick. It almost sounded like a hydraulic lifter tick, but it didn't have hydraulic lifters. And what happened was, we took it back to the dealership and we're like, hey, it's knocking. So they said, well, we can't hear it, so there's nothing we could do. So went on. The tick started forming into a considerable knock, and then at 20,000 miles the transmission started slipping. Not like every day, go in traffic and all that, but when you would go and you would stomp on the gas on a 2-lane highway, like Highway 138 or Highway 58 through Palmdale or through Mojave, and you would stomp on it, the engine RPMs would rev up, and then it'd slip and catch and take off. And we took it back, and they said, well, we can't do anything about it because we don't know how it was driven. And I told them, I said, well, you can go in your computer, in the vehicle's computer, and find out how it was driven, and from there you can warranty the transmission. Oh, well, our computer, blah, 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 blah. They gave us a runaround. So we're like, you know what? Whatever. So the tick got worse and worse and worse, and it started developing into a almost like a rod knock. And the engine would actually, when it would knock, it'd do this. The engine would actually move like that. And about 45,000 miles, this is what I'm in the Jeep for, to show you. At about 45,000 miles, I know this is a Jeep. At about 40,000 miles, I'm using this radiator as an example. Right in here, there was coolant, bright orange coolant, coming through the plastic. And we took it back, and they said, oh, well, we can't replace it because your engine overheated. And I was like, no, the engine wasn't overheated. It has never gotten over the middle. And the guy says, well, we can't do anything because your engine overheated and it's not warranted. And I was like, okay. And so We priced a radiator. It was $852 from General Motors. And me and my dad, we looked at each other and we kind of laughed. And we went to Harry's Radiator here in Doherty, or in Monrovia. And got the same exact radiator. The same company that makes them for Chevrolet makes the radiator that we put into the Equinox. The same exact radiator. Out the door, tax and everything, with Harry's Radiator 10% markup. $250 out the door. Out the door. And the thing is GM brought the box out of the radiator because me and my dad wanted to look at it, because we were actually thinking of purchasing it right then. It was a Spectre Performance radiator. The radiator that we got from Harry's Radiator was a Spectre Performance radiator for $600 less. And then my buddy, aside from the Equinox, well, anyway, let me go on about the Equinox. Come to find out, the guy at the dealership, when we went in for the trans problem, he goes, well, you know, these engines are made by Kia. These engines and transmissions are made by Kia in Korea. And, you know, the car's assembled in Canada in the Suzuki plant. And I went, so what you're saying is I'm driving a overpriced piece of shit. And the guy said, basically, yeah. And I'm not going to name names because this guy is a good friend of mine. And I said, so what you're telling me is Chevrolet sold us an American-made car. And he goes, well, technically Canada is American, is North America. And I'm like, no. I said, when somebody tells you that something's made in America, what do you think? He goes, well, made in the United States. I'm like, exactly. Therefore, Chevrolet is using false advertising to lure customers in. And then Chevrolet, oh no, they wonder why they have a lawsuit against them by 20,000 people for false advertisement. And, you know, I know because I'm one of them. The thing is, Chevrolet don't know about it yet. And it's irritating, you know. You buy a supposed American product and then you get fucked over. Another thing that pisses me off, well, irks the shit out of me, is the Equinox took 3.8 quarts of oil. It was a V6 engine. Our Ford Focus back there in the mirror, that you can see, is a 4-banger, and it takes 5.2 quarts of oil. And it's just a little itty-bitty 4-banger. And my dad's Ford Taurus, that has a V6 smaller than the one that was in the Equinox, takes 5.8 quarts of oil. And, you know, that Subaru there takes 4.5 quarts of oil. You know, it doesn't make sense. Why would you build an engine, a big engine like that, and only put a little itty-bitty amount of oil in it? The oil is the lifeblood of an engine. I've talked to other people that have had problems with Equinoxes as well. There's burning oil, and then Chevy telling them that, oh, well, you should have checked the oil. Well, you know, he took it to the dealership every 3,000 miles to get the oil changed. It shouldn't burn over a quart of oil in 3,000 miles. At all. Period. None of our Fords have. In the 23 years that I've been alive, that was the only Chevrolet that we bought, besides the 3500 that was given to my dad as a work truck. That was the only Chevy we bought, and it was the biggest heap of shit we ever had. Anyway, Ford, all their stuff is mostly American. Chevrolet, their engines are made here, their transmissions are made here, that's made there, this is made here, this is made here, that's 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 made here. Ford, for the most part, is 90% made in USA. Chevrolet, on the other hand, 42%. And you can actually check that on the internet right now. Ford's about 80-90% American made. Now, they told me, my buddy told me that works at the Chevy dealership, he said that, oh, well, being it's assembled in North America, blah, 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 that means it's American. I'm like, no, it doesn't. Because that's not feeding my people, that's feeding Canada's people, and I hate fuckers from Canada. Because they lie, they cheat, and they steal, and they bad talk Americans, and then they come here to get health care, and then they go back and still bad talk us, and say how stupid we are, and how our health care sucks. Anyway, yeah. And GM, my buddy, had a Silverado, a 2009, 8 or 9 Silverado. We went to GM because he wanted original GM parts. We went for a water pump that was bad. He went in for water pump, alternator, battery, and to get the spare tire replaced because the spare tire was all cracked and leaking air. Like you could hear it through the cracks. And GM wouldn't stand behind it. They said, oh, well, the alternator, battery, and water pump are all necessary wear items. That's not under warranty. So we priced it out. It would have been over $1,200 for all the parts we needed. Because we needed the brakes. I mean, duh. The brakes aren't going to be covered. But for all the parts, it would have been over $1,200. The parts at GM were made in Mexico, China, and Taiwan. We went online, got all the parts and more for $350 with shipping, and every single part was made in USA. Water pump, battery, alternator, the power steering pump was leaking too, so we went ahead and replaced that. They wouldn't stand behind that, and he got a brand new tire for it, which he had to pay for, and because even Goodyear wouldn't take care of the tire, of course. Got the brakes, and he got a couple other things. Now, we had a Ford Expedition, 2003 Ford Expedition, and the brakes were making a little bit of noise. And we took it to the Ford dealership. They replaced all 4 pads under warranty. They had 30,000 miles on the pads. We took the windshield washer motor went out in the Expedition, and that's the motor, the pump on the reservoir underneath the hood. We took it in. They replaced it free of charge and filled it all the way to the top free of charge. The reason it went out was because it was overfilled at the dealership, and I don't exactly know the details, but it shorted out inside the pump, and either a seal was bad in the pump, which is, you know, if it's been sitting on the shelf for a while, it's understandable. I know somebody's going to say, oh, well, Ford's a shitty product now, but I don't care. My dad's family has had Ford pickups since 1923, or Ford vehicles since 1923, and up until about 1970 something when my great grandfather passed away. And then my grandfather bought one more Ford after that. And then it was just mixed. It was all Land Cruisers like that one over there after that. And yeah. And I know somebody's going to rant on this video and tell me the $1,200 for that Silverado was installation. No, it was not. It was not installation because we priced them ourselves. We went into the parts department and priced every single part that he needed while the vehicle was in the parts department, in service, to get looked at. Anyway, I will never, ever, ever buy, well, the only GM product I would buy is a Corvette, but that's a given. That's the only vehicle that Chevrolet makes that they actually have quality control on. When my sister was in an accident, the company that was working on her car gave her a Chevy Aveo to drive while they were repairing her car. Right inside on the door jamb here, on the Aveo, it says "Made in Korea by Kia Motors." Yeah. The sad thing is, it had 3,000 miles on it. It knocked and burned oil and had no balls. And it got terrible gas mileage. And let's see what else. I was gonna rant on something else as well, but I guess that's it for now. If you buy a Chevy, you're just a full-blown moron. I mean, their products are junk. Their engines average. I was talking to a guy, my one neighbor. I don't know if you could see down there. Back there, yes, that's my face. In this video, I really don't care. Back over here, right here, is my neighbor that had a Chevy pickup. Now he drives a Charger. He had a Chevy pickup, a 2010. The engine started knocking at 3,000 miles. He took it in for the oil change, and they put new oil, new filter. They checked everything. He came back, it was knocking worse. They wouldn't stand behind the engine. So he left the truck there at the dealership because he paid cash for it. He left the truck there, went and bought the old style Charger, and now he's got a brand new Charger sitting in his driveway. I had a neighbor where I used to live in Pasadena. Same thing. His Isuzu, he had a 2009 Chevy 2500 HD 4x with the 6.6 Isuzu in it. And I don't give a shit what you say. I don't give a shit what Chevrolet claims. It's an Isuzu. It's built by Isuzu. The plant was Isuzu. So you can claim, you can say whatever the fuck you want to. It's an Isuzu. He backed out of the driveway one day. One injector dropped. He put it into drive. Another injector dropped. And it idled down the street all the way to the Chevy dealership. I had to go pick him up. Chevrolet wouldn't fix the problem. They said that the wrong weight of oil was in it, and that's the reason the injectors went out. But the problem with it was, sorry, my finger there. The problem with it was, the dealership that he took it to was the one that changed the oil. So they had it all documented, and he just got the oil changed. and it dropped an injector the day before on his drive home from Hollywood, and the dealership was closed because it was midnight, and two more injectors dropped on the way home, for a total of 3 injectors. And you know, I hear people having injector problems with Fords. I've never seen it. The only time I've heard about it is when they don't run the recommended oil. They run 1540 and you're supposed to run 5W40, because the 1540 is too thick and it won't go through the small holes that are in the injector. What people don't understand is the injectors in the 6.0s and the 6.2 and all that shit are oil fired. They don't open with what the fuck am I trying to say? They don't open with the cam. They open with a burst of 10,000 psi of oil. That's why you have to change the oil every 3,000 to 5,000 miles. That's why you have to use 5W40. That's why you have to use synthetic oil. Because if you don't use synthetic, all that shit will get trapped, and you'd have to be changing your oil every 1,500 to 2,000 miles. And that's what people don't understand. It's an oil-fired injector. It's not powered by a push rod and all that, like in the old Cummins and the Detroits. So, if you bitch about losing an injector in a 6.0, it's your own fucking fault, not Ford's fault. And don't blame Ford when the injector goes out because Ford had nothing to do with the engine. Blame International. It's International's engine, not Ford's. So if you have a problem with the engine, don't blame it on Ford. And that's another thing that pisses me off. Is they say Ford's no good, Ford's junk, because, the engine's bad. Well, don't blame Ford for the engine because it's not Ford's engine. That's what people don't understand. But you can blame Chevy for the Isuzu because Chevy owns Isuzu, and Chevy's the one that designed the Isuzu engine. And they just handed the design to Isuzu since Chevrolet owns Isuzu. And, yeah. So, it was a joint venture with International. And, anyway. So the 23-minute rant video on GMC and why you don't want to buy one. They're junk. I mean, in my opinion, my honest to God opinion, they are just trash. They're just throwaway cars. They're trucks, they're itty bitty titty committee cars. Every single one of their products is a junk car. You just buy one, drive 50,000 miles and throw it away. Damn, I still wish Jeep made the inline 6. Damn it. Anyway, I think this rant's over. We're going on 25 minutes and it's going to be a bitch to upload. And anyway, my final word is, if you want a shit ton of problems and you want transmission trouble, you want engine trouble, you like to hear knocking, you like to supply money to the oil companies and all that shit, go right ahead. Buy a Chevy. I will never ever buy any Chevy except for a Corvette. And that's my final word.